Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're connecting from. Welcome to this virtual information session where we will be telling you all about SBI's Master in Football Business and Management. My name is Diego Valdez. I am the Director General at SBI Barcelona, and my role at SBI basically comes down to managing and overseeing everything around the Institute, particularly related, of course, to our academic programs. As far as my background, before becoming the director at SBI, I worked many years as an international football journalist covering numerous FIFA, UEFA, La Liga tournaments, and I'm still a member of the Spanish Sporting Press Association, and my education is in sports management as well as having an MBA. So it's a little bit about my background. I do want to welcome everybody that's connecting here today, and I'm sure there's going to be a few others that will be joining us very soon. I will set myself to try and keep this presentation short to about 20-25 minutes because I do want to open it up for any questions that you may have around this program or any questions in general that you may have about advancing your career in the football industry. But before I move on, I do want to find out where you're connecting from. So in the chat, please type the country, the city where you're connecting from, because this tells us two things. It tells us where you're connecting from, obviously, the audience where we're reaching, tonight. And it also tells us that the sound is coming through properly. So I'll give you just a few seconds to, type in the chat. So I see Dubai, Istanbul. Excellent. There's people coming in from different parts of the globe. Brussels, USA. Fantastic. Welcome, guys. I see Sebastian, Andrew, Timuchin, Tanwir. Then there's Amadou from Guinea, Uganda. Jamil. Hi, Jamil. Good to see you. James from England. Hi, James. Pretoria, South Africa. We have Chiamo. Okay, great. So nice to see that we have an international audience tonight. Perfect. Well, this is how we're going to structure the session today. I'm going to give a brief introduction as to who we are at the Sports Business Institute Barcelona. After that, I'm going to cover what we believe are 4 key tips that you should be thinking about if you want to optimize your career opportunities and have success in the football industry. After that, I'm going to inform you about our Master in Football Business and Management, particularly the key benefits that might be appealing and interesting for you. And then finally, going through a few testimonials and what you would need to do if you are interested to go through the application process. Afterwards, we're going to open it up for a Q&A. So let's get started. Who are we at SBI? Well, we've been helping professionals grow, network, and become leaders in the industry since 2012. That means we've been in the market for 10 years plus, and as our name indicates, we're based in Barcelona. We have an office located just opposite the Camp Nou. However, we reach a global audience because our programs are mainly online with live sessions and also some blended programs with some face-to-face events in Barcelona. In this time, we've had over 3,000 students that have done our master's program and some of our other courses from across 83 countries. And one of the things that we really pride ourselves is involving our institute and building relationships with the top clubs, federations, tournaments, agencies, and other football organizations, because when we establish these relationships, that means our students have the opportunity to network, to grow, and like it says here, to lead or move into leadership positions in the football industry. These are a few pictures of, what we have or what we've had or been involved with in the past number of years. You see on the top left, that's our most recent graduation ceremony for the master students that were here about a month ago. A few other pictures that you see, and maybe you recognize some faces like Wes Morgan, the former captain of Leicester City Football Club. former student of our master's program, Javier Mascherano. Some of you may recognize as well. He's also a member of our SBI family. Beth Mead, international player for the Lionesses in England, also a former student of ours. So I mentioned this because it just shows that our programs attract top professionals in football because they see SBI as a platform, as an educational institute that allows them to have a collaborative community and then establish the relationships and acquire the knowledge to further their career in the football industry. Again, our program not only attracts executives, junior professionals, but it also attracts many professional footballers. I'm sure some of you that follow the Premier League will recognize a few of those names, such as Troy Deeney, Matt Ritchie, Nathaniel Schellenbach, Carlos Sanchez. All of these guys have played in the Premier League. Wes Morgan, of course. And then some of the women's players, like I mentioned, we have Beth Mead, and then in the picture here we have Daniel van der Donk from the Dutch national team, Raquel Rodriguez from Costa Rica, playing in the American Football Professional League. So some of the people that have studied with us previously. Now, where do our alumni work? Because this is a question that many times our candidates and our former students are thinking, and our prospective students, I should say, are thinking, well, if I enroll in this master, what opportunities am I going to have? These are just a few of the logos of the organizations where many of our students are now currently working or have worked for and have moved on to other institutions and organizations in football. So that validates to us that the people that do our program eventually, after graduation, enter the football industry in one capacity or another. So how do we do that? Well, before getting into our master's program and what it entails and what you can expect, I just want to run briefly through 4 key pillars that you should be thinking about if you either want to start or advance your career in the football industry. And I'm going to run through them relatively quickly because I'm conscious of our time, but I do want to make sure that we run through them so you understand why it's important to know them and how we've designed the program to meet these needs. So the first one, of course, is knowledge. We get a lot of people that are interested in SBI programs and this master's degree in particular. And one of the things I always say is, if you're in a position where you want to move into the football industry or you want to advance, well, the first thing that you're going to need to do is upskill your knowledge, because there's many professionals in football today that already have, an extensive career, fair bit of knowledge. And if you're trying to compete for those positions and you don't have the most relevant, accurate knowledge of what it entails to work in the football industry, well, you're going to be in a disadvantageous position. So this is quite an evident point, but one worth highlighting. First, you need to understand how the industry works from the inside, and how it is, the current landscape in football, how it's laid out, because it's changing, it's evolving. And, if you're not up to speed on what's happening, you're going to be in a disadvantageous position. Secondly, and I'm sure many of you can attest to this and probably understand this, network. It's hugely important to have a network in any sector, but in football particularly, it's the people that you know that are going to open the relationships, or that are going to build the relationships rather, that are going to open opportunities for you. There's a stat that says, and I mean, obviously this is a ballpark figure, but that says that approximately, 50 to 65% of the job offerings in football are not made public. So that means that about 35-40% of the job opportunities in football are getting filled through relationships, through contacts, through the network that people have. And it is important because nowadays it's changing, and depending on which country you're based in, there are job vacancies that are made public at football clubs and football federations and organizations. But this wasn't the norm in the past, and in many countries it still isn't. In fact, in Spain, you don't see many clubs posting job offers. So that means that there's opportunities, but they're being filled by relationships, by who you know. So building a network and enhancing those relationships is hugely important for a closed sector such as football. Now, another thing that I think is important to consider, and one that gets overlooked often, is having a mentor. Why? Because there's many decisions that you're going to need to take throughout your career. And it doesn't matter if you're starting out now or if you already have experience in football. The decisions that you take today are going to mark your future, whether it's in, 6 months, a year, or 5 years down the road. So why do I mention this? Because sometimes it's hard to know where the right, which path to take, and especially to optimize and to save some time and accelerate. So finding a mentor, having someone that can guide you is hugely important as well, and something that many times people either don't have access to a mentor or don't really know about this and oversee this point. But it will save you time, and it will give you an opportunity to have many decisions that you take be bounced with or checked with somebody that's worked in the industry. So if you have this opportunity, it's very important to consider. And then obviously practical experience. If you can have an opportunity to do an internship, to collaborate with a club, to do pro bono work, of course, this is going to open a door and potentially be an opportunity. Now, why do I mention these 4 pillars? Well, because this is how we designed the Master in Football Business and Management at SBI. So in other words, we reversed engineered the process and we said, well, what do people that are looking to get into the football industry or that are already in football and want to advance their career, what do they need? And we identified those pillars. Well, you need the knowledge, you need the network, you need a mentor, and you need practical experience. And off the back of those pillars, we designed SBI's Master in Football Business and Management, which is delivered online. And I'll explain to you a little bit more about how it works. So let's move into that. So then I'm sure you're probably here because you want to learn more about the program. So essentially the unique methodology that we have is laid out in 5 steps. Firstly, we have an online campus, which is a self-study portal where you go in and you have all the resources that you would expect in any online program. Videos, tutorials, documents, reports, articles, etc. So everything in a one-stop shop in a cutting-edge online campus. Secondly, the second pillar is virtual guest lectureships, which are live every week with a top football professional that is an expert in his or her domain. So every week when you're connecting to the Masters, you're going to have somebody from, whether it's FC Barcelona, Liverpool, Man City, Real Madrid, FIFA, UEFA, and not only these top organizations, we also have clubs at the bottom of the pyramid that are going to tell you more about the realities and the challenges that they face. So it's not just about understanding, elite football. It covers different leagues from across the globe, different clubs, so that you understand the realities. So those are the guest speakers that come and deliver the sessions every week. Then we also have what we call live lab sessions or tutorials, which is essentially what you would see in any MBA course. What does that mean? Well, we give you a case that you have to prepare, and when you connect, we put you in scenarios, we give you role plays, we give you different cases where you have to act as if. And what does this do? Well, this prepares you for the challenges, for what you're going to face in the real world in the football industry, and you're already working on it, and you're preparing yourself week in, week out through these lab sessions, so that when you finish the program and you're ready to, move on to your next step in your career, you're prepared and you will have seen multiple scenarios and you will have prepared and you will have taken decisions in real time so that you would, prepare for what you're gonna see in the, in the football industry. And then finally, practical assignments, final project, which of course in any master's program is essential to have, the assessments. And they're evaluated constantly, you're given feedback, and you're told how to improve on a regular basis. The 5th component of our methodology is 2 live touch points, one at the beginning of the course and one at the end. Why is this important? Well, we can run this course online, fully online, without any issues, and people will find massive value. However, we do understand that the face-to-face component is important. So what have we done? Well, at the beginning of the course, there is a pass that you have, an access pass to the World Football Summit, which is a conference held every year in Spain. This year it's going to be held September 2021 in Seville, Spain. So what do? We give you a pass. You register for the master's program, you get a pass to attend the conference in Seville, where you get a chance to network, listen to panels, have personalized career sessions. 2 days of networking in Seville, Spain at the World Football Summit. Then we have the entire online program, which runs from October till May. And at the end, you come and graduate in Barcelona live, a ceremony of 2 days, which we organize here in the city. So I'll talk about those two face-to-face touch points in just a moment. But I do want to mention about the mentorship program, because it's a unique program that we believe is one of our unique selling points for students at SBI. And how does it work? Well, we work on your career guidance. So it's a plan, it's a roadmap that we work on so that we understand where you're at today and where do you want to be. And off the back of that, we analyze different gaps. So some of you may have gaps where you need to expand your network. Others may come from football. Say, for example, Wes Morgan. He doesn't need any network because he already has, picks up the phone and can basically call anybody within football in England mainly. So he was looking more to upskill on his business acumen. So depending on what your background is, and this depends on your age, your experience, your location, a number of different factors that we analyze specific to you, and we create a roadmap together with mentors that guide you and tell you what best next steps you should be taking in parallel to studying the master's. So this is something that we do in parallel while you do the course, and it's something that students really value, because when they finish, the feedback that we constantly get is, wow, I spoke to somebody that has been in the football industry for many years, and I didn't even consider some of the points that he, advised me to take. And it really opens your eyes, because it's people that, and by the way, I'll tell you who the mentors are in just a moment, but it's people that have had a long career in the football industry, working for top organizations, that have been there, that have seen it all, and that are going to guide you. And it's very different to have a mentor that, it's just some tutor that may not have, real life experience, to have executives that have been working for the likes of Manchester United or Inter Milan or FC Barcelona that are going to tell you what you can expect to see at these organizations, and not just these organizations, but some of the others that are making up the football ecosystem. So here are the mentors. Richard Lamb. Richard Lamb is not only a mentor, he is the program director for this master. He is a former executive that worked in commercial roles at Manchester United, Inter Milan, and West Ham United. So he was the chief revenue officer at West Ham. He led the commercial operations for Manchester United in Asia. So massive experience in football. A mentor that is going to work one-on-one with you. Another mentor that is going to work one-on-one with you if you enroll in this master's, Julie Ferret. Julie Ferret now works as a sports marketing consultant, and he worked with brands, clubs, federations, startups, tech firms, law firms, etc. And he, among other things, he was the commercial director and head of partnerships at FC Barcelona for a number of years. He also worked for AS Monaco, as well as working for FIBA and other institutions and organizations in football. So these two guys are going to be mentoring you one-on-one. And then the third person that is also a mentor is Neil Law. So Neil is a sports business recruiter. So what he does is he gives you the perspective from the other side. So Julie and Richard are going to help you craft a roadmap and a career plan based on your own objectives and aspirations. And then Neil is going to show you the flip side of the coin, where he's going to say, well, if you're looking at it from the candidate's perspective, from a recruitment standpoint, this is what you should consider. So he helps you and guides you how to, best optimize your CV, how to approach interviews, how to approach candidatures when there's no vacancies. So all of this is covered in the mentorship sessions. And then, of course, the network is something very valuable for, people that do this program. And why is it important? Well, we bring professionals from across the top clubs, leagues, federations, and not, like I said before, not just the top of the football pyramid, but many executives that have worked in different clubs, different football organizations, that are the speakers and that are the teachers for this course. So, like I mentioned, Richard, Julie, not only are they mentors, but they're also teachers and guest speakers for this course. We have Simon Meehan, who works at Chelsea Football Club, Isabel Croix, who works for FC Bayern Munich, John Ledwich at Leicester City, Malik Koido, who's a football agent in England, Jordan Gardner, an expert at, looking at the business side of football from an investment standpoint, Bash Natter, an expert in data, who's worked with UEFA. And this is just, 4 or 5 speakers. If you go to our website, you're going to see a more detailed list of the speakers. But we have regularly people from Man City, Liverpool, Man United, UEFA, FIFA. Like I said, the list goes on and on. And think about this. The course starts in May and starts in October and finishes at the end of May, beginning of June. So that's 8 months where every week there's a different executive that comes in and delivers a masterclass and delivers a session that is catered to your growth and to your learning. So this is not, like you're going to go in and listen to a conference. This is people who are going to teach you. This is people who are going to put you in scenarios and give you situations so that you're prepared when you finish the program. Again, if you want to look at the full list of speakers, I encourage you to go to our website, which I'll actually put on the website, on the chat box in just a moment. Right. So who does this master attract? So if you're in any of these 4 categories, this master could be the right option for you. In other words, we regularly get these different types of profiles. So what is the number one type of profile that we get? Well, executives already working in football. So many people that are already working in football is one demographic of students that we get. Secondly, another demographic, professionals working in other sectors that are looking to transition, not transit, but transition to the football industry. So people that are working in marketing, in commercial roles, in financial roles, communication roles, legal roles, that are working in other sectors that want to transfer their skills. And of course, football being a business, these skills are very much in demand. So people that have the skills, but don't have the experience in football. This is another type of demographic of students that we regularly get. Another demographic that we regularly get is professional football players, like I mentioned before. So normally in every cohort, we attract 2, 3, 4 players from across different leagues, levels. Sometimes we're very lucky and we get top Premier League players. Other times, maybe it's people that players that are playing for League 1, League 2 football clubs, or first or second division clubs from other parts of the globe. And then the last demographic of students that we normally attract is younger profiles that want to break into the football industry. Now, this is something to consider at SBI that makes us a little bit different. We tend to attract a more senior type of profile. And the reason being is, as it is online, and that you can do it in parallel with other commitments, it tends to attract a more senior type of level. This is not to say that we also get younger profiles that apply for this program and that we accept. And the reason we do that is because it's a very nice ecosystem of students when you have very experienced people in football, engaging with young professionals, because you may get somebody who's 35, 40, 45 years old that is engaging with somebody who's 23, 24. And you may think, well, the 23, the 24-year-old may not have as much to add. But there's a lot to add from these types of profiles, because let's not forget, they're consuming football in a much different way than someone who's 35, 40, 45 years old. So in the class discussions, having someone who maybe doesn't have as much experience, but consumes football, they have a lot to add to the discussion, and you'd be surprised how much value they add simply by just saying what they do. And how they consume sport, which is very different than somebody who's more senior. So this is why when we do our selection process for the master, we want to make sure that we try to make the cohort as diverse, as varied, so that we get people from different nationalities, different experience levels, and different profiles. Right, moving on. Like I mentioned before, at the outset, before we start the Masters, which starts in October, you have the chance to attend the World Football Summit in Sevilla, in Spain. This is not a mandatory component. You do not need to be at the World Football Summit to graduate from the master's program. However, we strongly recommend that if you can make it to Seville, you are there and you engage with us, because you're going to build a network, you're going to learn from top professionals, and with the World Football Summit, we have a partnership where our students not only attend the conference, but there's an additional side meeting specifically for students where professionals provide guidance and even sometimes internship opportunities that are available in their organizations. So it's a great opportunity to network, and it's a catered experience for SBI students that we have a special partnership with the World Football Summit where they work specifically with our students. Now, the tuition fee, which I'll explain a little bit later, does not cover your flight and accommodation, but it does cover the pass. Again, it's not mandatory, but we strongly recommend you build a lot of relationships, not just with the rest of the students and the SBI team, but also with many of the executives that attend and deliver, panel sessions at this event. So that's the first face-to-face component, touch point, before the course starts in September. Secondly, when the course finishes, you graduate in Barcelona. We have a 2-day graduation ceremony in Barcelona that we organize for all the students. And we take you inside FC Barcelona, Espanyol, which is the other football club in the city. We go to Media Pro, which is a media rights company in sports. And of course, we also do networking, social events, and a graduation dinner and a diploma ceremony as well. Normally, we do it at Espanyol Stadium, so it's a beautiful background where you're graduating at a stadium. You're looking at the city from different perspectives, and you're in a football environment. You're up close and personal, again in a very customized way. This is not something that is available for anybody else. It's exclusive for SBI students in the graduation ceremony. Now, you may be thinking, well, what type of recognition does this master's have? We have a partnership with a university in Miami, USA, called Florida Global University. They have their campus in the US, and we have a partnership with them. Now, why did we decide to partner with them? Well, because we understand that for our students, it's important to have an academic recognition when you put it on your CV, when you mention it on your LinkedIn. So the diploma, when you graduate, it has not only our logo, but it also has the logo of Florida Global University, certifying that it's recognized by this university in the United States. Now, why do we want to partner with a university in the United States? Well, as you probably know, sports business in the US is a massive business, and sports marketing is something that is very much advanced, and then Americans have done successfully for many, many years. So we wanted to blend the European model of top European football, but also bring in that component of North American, sports marketing, sports business professionalization that you would see in the US. So your diploma has both logos: the Sports Business Institute Barcelona, which is the main institute that powers this degree, but it's also recognized by Florida Global University. Right. So I'm just going to finish off here very shortly, because I know we're running into added time, into Fergie time, as some would say. So the student testimonials and success stories that I want to mention. The text is quite small here, so I won't read them. But some of the students that have gone through our course, we've selected these 3 different profiles just to highlight the different background of students that we normally attract. So David, for example, is one of those young professionals that did not have experience in football, but shortly after graduating from the course, he landed a job in a football organization that does data and analytics in the UK. So now he's working in this organization after finishing our master's program. Rebecca James worked for many years as the communications manager at Arsenal Football Club, and as of last year, she opened up her own business called Limitless. It's an agency that does communication, PR, crisis management for top footballers. And among her clients, she has Martin Odegaard. Who else does she have? Saka from Arsenal, and a few other top players. So she's a student that finished our master's program, And after finishing the program, she set up her own business. So she actually used the master's program to eventually open up her own firm that she had wanted to do for a long period of time, but lacked the, the confidence, perhaps some of the knowledge. And after completing the course, she started her own agency. And then someone like Gunter, who has, quite a bit of experience in football. And after completing the program, he became the managing director at FC Eindhoven, a club in the Eredivisie. This testimonial I like to highlight here because Wes, he actually came to Barcelona when he finished his program. He graduated with the rest of the students. And we asked him and he said, Wes, Wes, can you give us a testimonial? What did you think about the course? And he said, of course, there's a YouTube video that if you search SBI Barcelona Wes Morgan, you're going to find. But basically, he said, studying a master's at SBI allowed me to gain a full understanding on the business side of football. They are top professionals that are well connected in the sports industry. So I highlight this not to toot our own horn, but basically to say that if someone of the caliber of the profile of Wes Morgan decided that this program was the right fit for him, well, we really value that and we pride ourselves in saying that he's a former student of ours because, a top Premier League player that has basically lifted the Premier League trophy when the whole world was watching back in that miraculous season when Leicester City won the cup, or the Premier League rather. It just says and it validates that if you're a student or if you're a candidate considering this program, you're going to see that this is just one testimonial, but we have many, many more of people that either transitioned from other sectors or entered the football industry after finishing the program, or someone like Wes, who was already very well connected and part of the football industry, but wanted to upskill himself, particularly in his case, on the business side and gaining that business acumen that I mentioned before. This is a stat that we ran recently, and again, it highlights what our students think about this program. And it's the percentage of master's students that say that the program, not exiled, sorry, this is a spelling mistake from this presentation, exceeded their expectations. So we don't want to exile anybody here at SBI. We're inclusive and we're very much, looking at everybody and wanting to get all sorts of profiles from around the world. So that's a typo and please excuse that. It's exceeded their expectations, 95%. So what is the overview of the program and the application process? And with that, I'll finish. Well, we start October 16th, so there's still some time to register or to apply. Of course, we do have the World Football Summit event, which I mentioned, starting on September 20th, 21st. So if you do want to take advantage of that, essentially you want to start in September rather than in October. The duration and the weekly dedication. It's 8 months. It runs from October till the end of May. And then we have the June event in Barcelona. So it's 8 months. And normally the dedication that you need to, put in as far as hours, it's 4 to 8 hours per week. Some weeks it'll be less. Some weeks it'll be a bit more when you have assessments, when you have assignments, when you have a couple of master classes. But it allows you to do it in parallel with other commitments. We've had people that have done it who have been playing Premier League football. We've had people that are CEOs at clubs. We've had people that are young professionals working for, other companies, and, some recent graduates that, obviously they have a little bit more time. So no matter what your situation is, you can also dedicate to do other professional, academic, or even personal commitments. Why do I mention this? Because if you're working full-time, it's a program that you can do successfully without any issues. And if you're not working full-time and if you're a student, it allows you to have extra time to potentially look for an internship with us, or, maybe work on the side to help you pay for the tuition fees, etc. The language, 100% in English. We're based in Barcelona, but we operate 100% in English. Every presentation, every video, every email you're going to receive from us is going to be in English. So even if you don't speak Spanish or Catalan, in this case in Barcelona, absolutely no issue. Everything that we do is 100% in English. So what is the fee? The fee is 7,500 euros for the whole program, including the access pass to the World Football Summit, including the 2-day graduation ceremony in Barcelona, and of course, the 8-month program with the top network, with the guest lectures, with the mentorship program, and with some internship opportunities, which I'll mention in just a moment. A more visual way to look at it. Well, the two components in orange are the face-to-face events that I mentioned. In September, the World Football Summit. In June, the graduation ceremony in Barcelona. So those two events in orange are face-to-face. The rest is online every week. The classes are normally held Thursday evenings at 8 p.m. Barcelona, 7 p.m. UK. So this exact same time when we started this info session, 8 p.m. Spain, 7 p.m. UK. And if you're in other time zones, you can, calculate against either of those time zones. So what do? Well, every week we have either 1 or 2 classes. If it's another class per week, normally we tend to do it on a Wednesday. So it might be on a Wednesday and Thursday, but that's the exception. Usually it's 1 class per week, Thursdays. And why do we pick Thursdays? Well, because in the past we've had numerous club professionals, people that are involved in Champions League football, whether it's players or people working at clubs or people working at UEFA. So we decided to do Thursdays. Obviously today, in this day and age, there's football every day of the week. So it's hard to pick a day where, there's no football. And we selected Thursday because, Europa League, even though it's a competition that, sometimes we do have people working in Europa League, it's hard. It's a date which is a bit more open. In fact, Rebecca James, who I mentioned before from Arsenal, when she did the course, she was still working at Arsenal, and they were playing Europa League that season. So she actually did a lot of the course by listening to the recording of the replays on demand inside the online campus and while she was traveling. And she obviously did attend many of the live classes. But I mentioned this because if you're thinking, well, will it fit with my schedule? Can I catch up later on? It's fully catered to people that have other commitments, and you're going to successfully be able to complete the program as long as you have those 4 to 8 hours and you have the drive, the dedication, and the commitment to do the course. I mean, I won't go through the whole course content. I'll let you guys look at the prospectus or go to our website to see the different modules and topics that we cover. But essentially, this is what you should take away. The course is designed for you to put on a hat that says CEO. In other words, everything that you're going to see is around the business side of football, whether it's marketing, sponsorship, event management, communication, fan engagement, finance, legal, whatever that may be. Everything that you would need from a CEO standpoint, we are going to cover. The only element which we don't cover is the sporting side. We do cover it briefly from a performance standpoint. Sometimes we bring in a sporting director, but it's very limited. So if you want to do a program where you want to look at coaching, tactics, anything related to pitch management, this is not the course for you. On the flip side, if you are a sporting director or if you aspire to be a sporting director, this course can fit that profile because, as you probably know, a sporting director in this day and age in football is responsible for the budget of the main component that is spent at football clubs, which is player wages and player transfers. So it's a position that is no longer just a sporting position. The sporting director obviously looked at the sporting side, but it's a position that needs to understand the business side of football. But again, it's not the exact type of profile that that we attract. We attract people that want to work in the business side of football. But it's not just any business, it's understanding it from the CEO standpoint. Now, this doesn't mean that if you're a young professional and you don't want to be a CEO yet, you should be discouraged or intimidated. No, on the flip side, it's completely the opposite. We prepare you for any type of role But what I mean is you're going to be in positions where you're going to understand the viewpoint from all angles. You're not just going to have the prism of marketing or of events or of communication, which is what tends to happen in many football organizations, that you have somebody who's an expert in communication, but he or she may not be an expert in legal or in finance. Well, here, what we want to do is we want to prepare you for any opportunity that it comes your way that aligns with your previous background and with your interests moving forward. So that's the course curriculum. Finally, and with this, I'll turn it over to you guys for any questions. This is the application process. You go to our website, you fill out a very brief application form, and you need to pay a 120 euro application fee. Okay, so you submit the application form online, you make the payment of 120 euros, and that's the first step. Second step, you send us your CV and a motivation letter outlining two elements. One, why do you want to apply for this master's program? So what are your motivations? Two, what contribution you think you can make to the group and to the football industry? Why do I mention this? Because it's a very collaborative group that we create every year, and we carefully select each profile, each individual. And the reason for that is because we have a brand to respect, and we have a commitment with many of the people. Like I mentioned before, you've seen some of the high profile professionals that have done this masters and that continue to apply year in, year out, from different organizations. So we have a standard to uphold. So if people don't have, say, for example, a full working knowledge of English, normally that's something that we very strictly look at, because it really puts people behind. Secondly, we expect every applicant to have an undergraduate degree of any discipline. In some cases, we do make exceptions. We do make exceptions because we've had professionals in the past that have been very motivated, that did not have a university degree, but they wanted to get into the football industry, and we have made some exceptions. So we encourage you to apply. Our academic committee is a small committee. We look at every candidature very carefully, we analyze it, and we don't discriminate in any manner that is beyond upstanding the level, upholding the level of this master's degree. So you send in your CV, you send in your motivation letter, you pay the application fee, you do the online application form. And then the third step is we receive the candidature every week. From now till October, we're basically meeting every week, sometimes every 2 weeks, but normally every week. On one day of the week, we gather together and we look at the candidatures that are coming in on a weekly basis. And then we select the best ones. Out of those, we then provide an answer to those that have successfully, been admitted. You get a letter telling you that you've been admitted. And if for any reason you're not admitted, we send you an email outlining feedback as to why you were not admitted. And not only that, we have a commitment. We refund your application fee. So the 120 euros, if you are not accepted to the program, we refund it to you. I don't think there's any other institute that does this, but we want a no-risk application. We want people to submit their application and to have a shot at having our candidature, having our academic committee, accept it. And in many cases, we've looked at some profiles and we said, look, this is not the typical profile, but we've had a conversation with this person and we just get a feeling that this person has talent, this person has drive, this person has motivation. And, in some cases, we've been very, very on spot, in the sense that we go out of what the traditional candidate that we look for is, and we identify somebody that's motivated, that's talented, and we say, look, this person has what it takes, let's bring them on. And in every case that we've done that, they've added so much value. And this is the thing, sometimes when you don't have the background, you work twice, 3 times as hard. And that's the case when we accept these types of profiles. Usually they're working 3 times as much, and they're putting out so much value that when they graduate, we think, man, we've made the right decision. And we've seen it. In fact, one case that we recently highlighted is a person by the name of Juan Huitron. He did a course with us, and shortly after doing the course with us, he got a job at Inter Miami. Inter Miami now, of course, in the eyes of everybody. So he's someone that had limited experience, but we said, this guy's a talent. This guy has what it takes. And there he is working for Inter Miami today. So there we go. Anyway, this is what you can expect in the Master in Football Business Management at SBI. The last thing I'll say before turning it over for your questions. If you're looking for an overly academic program where you want, a lot of theory, where you want a lot of research in the sense that maybe you want to move on and do a PhD, this is not the program for you. We don't believe in that. Every person that delivers and that teaches the course is either working in the football industry now, or is a consultant, or has relevant experience in football. Because we believe that that's a key differentiator factor that prepares our students for what they're going to face in real life in the football industry. So we have had people that have applied and said, look, I want to do my PhD afterwards, and I'm looking to do lots of research, and I want to do, collaborations in academia. And then we tell them, this is not the right program for you, because we're very focused on cases, we're very focused on real life scenarios, and putting you in situations to prepare you for what's happening in the football industry today. So it's a very practical, hands-on type of course. If it is what you're looking for, and we find that many students and candidates that apply for this program want, and that's why we've had a lot of success, because we differentiate ourselves from some of the masters out there that are more aligned and that have official accreditation from some universities. We have a recognition with a partnership with the university in Florida, which is, we believe, the best of both worlds. Having the academic recognition, but being very independent with our curriculum and deciding who teaches the course, and not having to abide by any specific guidelines that an academic institution imposes. So it's a very forward-thinking type of approach, and it's had much success in placing professionals in the football industry. But again, if it's an academic program that you're looking for, not probably the best option at SBI. Anyway, that's a caveat that I wanted to throw out there at the end. But basically to say that if you want to get in touch with us, you can do so. You can do so through our website, which I'll put the link here. I'm sure you guys all have it, but sbibarcelona.com. Right. So let's open it up for your questions. Do you guys have any questions specific to the masters, to your own career? So I know I've gone over time here, and I apologize, but I did want to cover the essential points in case you do want to have, your application considered. I always say my role, my job is not to convince anybody. My role is to give you all the facts, because you need to do your due diligence. You need to look at other programs. You need to look at what's out there in the market, and you need to look for the best fit for you. There's fantastic programs out there. And I don't mean to say that the academically oriented programs are not good or are not of any level. They're top programs. They're just different. And you need to find the one that is the right fit for you. Our tuition fee is 7,500 euros. But if you apply before July 15th, you get an early bird discount, which has been extended, which you have 6,950. I know it's a big investment, but if you compare it to what's out there in the market, you're going to see that it's very competitively priced. And if you look at the guest speakers that we bring on, they are matching any of the top programs that may be worth 25, 30,000 euros plus or pounds. So something that, again, we receive a lot of feedback from people that say, well, value for money, SBI really provided what I was looking for. Anyway, here I am talking about the program again, so I just want to get to your questions. Sebastian says, thank you for the great presentation. Any future activity, trip, conference in the USA? And please, if you can mention about alumni benefits. Thank you. So Sebastian, we're thinking, it's not confirmed yet, but we're thinking about attending SoccerX in Miami. Soccerex in Miami is being held in November. So we're thinking about, having an opportunity with Soccerex. It's not confirmed. I mean, we still need to evaluate. But as far as USA, that's something that we're looking at. But nonetheless, we have very close ties with the city of Miami. We know many universities and collaborate with different universities there. Of course, our partner being one of them. We've been, in touch with professionals that work for Inter Miami, Miami FC, which was another club that was there. CONCACAF, which has the main offices in Miami. We also have collaborated with them and have opportunities to engage with them. So as far as the US is concerned, Miami is one of our hubs, one of our areas that we focus a lot. But on top of that, we've worked with numerous MLS clubs. MLS itself, we've worked with professionals at the USL, which is the second division in the US, or the equivalent to a second division, of course, because there's no relegation. So yes, in the US, we have close ties, Sebastian. And if you do this program, if you do this master's, you're going to find that you're not only going to build a network in Barcelona, you're going to build a network with people from across Europe, the US, Latin America. We've had, in recent years, a lot of students that have applied from the Middle East, particularly the Gulf region. Asia is an area that we get students as well very often, from Hong Kong, from Malaysia. So basically, you're going to build a network from across the globe. But yes, in the US, to answer your question, we do have that. And as far as alumni benefits, we're looking at organizing an alumni event in Barcelona very soon. So stay tuned, because that's something else that we're looking to do. And of course, not only that, we do meetups. We do regular meetups with students when we go to different cities where we've had many students. For example, London, or sometimes other places in the US like New York, Miami, which I mentioned before. We do meetups where we'll say, oh, SBI is going to be at Barcelona in such and such a city. We're going to have several meetings. Any students that want to come and meet us for a coffee or for an informal gathering, we do plenty of that as well. So, but from a formal standpoint, yeah, like I mentioned before. Right. Usman says, thank you so much. Thank you, Usman, because the most valuable asset that all of us have is time. And if you're here dedicating your valuable time, that says a lot. So it's me and us at SBI who have to thank you. So it's the other way around. Happy to have the information. So I'm glad, Usman, that you got everything you needed. Andrew Camilleri, logistical questions. How long would you expect each weekly session to last? And with regards to assessment, would it be based on the weekly presentations and coursework? Thank you for that question, Andrew. Very important. So, how long would you expect each weekly session to last? All the sessions last 90 minutes. Why? Because the cohort is normally between 25, 30 students, sometimes a bit less, sometimes a bit more, but we won't have a course with 50 to 100 students. You won't expect to see that at SBI. Why? Because we want to make sure that we are able to personalize the experience for everybody. So I mentioned this because in 90 minutes, it's enough for the speaker to provide their session for Q&A. Normally what we do is we have 45 minutes of the speaker providing, their presentation, and then 45 minutes Q&A and discussion. And then not only that, there's also the lab sessions, which I mentioned earlier. The lab sessions are with the guest speaker, but the difference is they don't have a presentation. They have 3 or 4 different cases that you must work live in real time in those 90 minutes. But to answer your question, the sessions are 90 minutes, so you can expect an hour and a half when you connect. As far as the assessments, well, yes, they're based on the coursework. Yes, they're based on everything that you learn. So there's 3 major assessments in the course, and it's 1 assessment per term. So we have the course is divided into 3 terms, as you saw before. So after term 1, there's 1 major assessment. After term 2, the same, and after term 3. The first assessment is individual, and the assessments for term 2 and term 3 are group assignments. They're group assessments that you have to collaborate, that you have to work with the rest of your peers. You work in groups. Many times, some of those assessments are based on projects that are commissioned by clubs or by football organizations. So you will sometimes be working on real life projects for your assessments. And then your final project, and this is an important element, it's a huge component which I can't believe I didn't mention before. Final project, very, very different than any other final project you could expect in any masters in the market. And this I can guarantee. Why? Because your final project is very much aligned with your own career development. So, how does that work? Well, we divide your final project for the masters in 2 parts. On the one hand, like any other master's program, you need to do a dissertation, you need to do some research, and you need to have a project. However, this dissertation is not just an academic paper. This dissertation and this final project is not just that. By aligning it to your own career development, what we do is throughout the year, as I mentioned before, you work with mentors. You set out a roadmap of where you want to go in the football industry. You identify your gaps. And what we do at the end with the final project is we say, okay, let's work on your final project. Let's do it as you would in any other master's degree. However, let's add the component and look inwards. Tell us what are your gaps. Tell us what you need to do to get ahead. Tell us your next actionable steps that you want to take after finishing the program. And you're gonna have worked on this throughout the course. So it's not something that you need to randomly think about. You're gonna have all the steps already laid out. And why is this important? Because when you finish, not only are you doing an academic paper or a dissertation on something that is going to be of interest to you, but it's going to be something that you have selected, which is going to be very much linked to your own personal development, which you will have been working throughout the masters. And this is something that is mind-blowing for our students because they're not expecting this for a final project. They're not expecting to work on their own development and work on an actionable roadmap of where they need to go and steps that are clearly laid out. So in the final project, you actually have to tell us, okay, where am I going? What am I going to do? And we evaluate that in parallel to the other part, which is the academic component. And I say academic, but it's not strictly limited to an academic dissertation. Many of our students, as their final project, prepare a business plan. And for us, it's absolutely fine. In fact, like I mentioned before with Rebecca at Arsenal, her final project was her business plan to set up her own agency, and there she is now launching it. So you don't necessarily need to just do an academic dissertation or paper. You can do a business plan. Some people have already been working in the football industry and maybe have a joint venture that they're working on. That could be their final project. So it's not just something that you're going to be, having an assignment or a final project. It's very carefully thought out so that it's a project that optimizes your opportunities of success. And that's why a lot of people, when they finish the final project, actually move into either a role in football, or they start a business, or they start some sort of venture in the football industry. And I mean, I won't go into all the details because I could be here, for a long period of time, but we've had many, many students that have provided us a business plan as their final project, that have gone on to create agencies, charities, partnerships. In a couple of cases, students of the same cohort have set up their own, venture and business. So I'll leave you with this, and I'll get to some of the other questions. You and I, right now, even if we brainstorm for an hour, we could come up maybe with 5-10% of the potential that you might find in this master's. And I don't know. I don't have all the answers. You don't have all the answers. It's an unknown. It's a quote unquote risk, like anything in life. However, 90% of that potential is still untapped because you don't know who you're going to meet. You don't know who are going to be your classmates. You don't know that if perhaps in one group assignment that you work with somebody who's an executive in football has an opening and says, look, I really enjoyed working with you. Let's have a chat and maybe there's an opening. I don't know that because I don't know who's going to be the full cohort for October. You don't know that because you don't know what the opportunities lie. So to sound a bit romantic, but the magic, the unlocked potential happens when you begin making a decision and starting on that path. So we've seen it time and time again, and you can probably tell by the way I speak that I'm very passionate about this because I set up the Sports Business Institute Barcelona after myself having done a master's program. And I felt that the master's program that I finished covered a lot of the elements, but it wasn't covering what I really wanted. So I thought there must be many, many more people in my position. And that's how I began, as the founder, managing director at SBI. Sorry. I hope that answered your question, Andrew. Isaac, hi Diego, thank you for the information, very useful. Could you send us this presentation by email, or where can I download it to review it again? Sure, we'll make sure that you guys receive the recording, the replay, and I'll find out from Emma if we can send this presentation as well. But if not, you can always get in touch with me or our team, and we'll clarify any doubts. If any of you want to set up a call, a conversation, not just to discuss the program, but to discuss your own career objectives and opportunities, or aspirations rather, we're here. That's what we do. We speak to people every day that are interested in a career in football. So we know what it takes, and we dedicate the time, because even if people chat to us about their objectives and they don't end up doing our master's program, part of our mission is far greater than just a transactional operation with a student. We believe, and we firmly see it, that we are a family. So even if people don't enroll in our programs, hey, as long as we add value, that's what we're here for. So get in touch with us, Isaac, and we'll be happy to set up a call or answer your questions via email. Some people prefer calls and want to speak to a live human being. Some people say, no, I'd rather just get all the information via email. Whatever is your preference. Other people want to be on WhatsApp. Whatever your preference is, let us know. We'll adapt. We'll send it to you, and we'll make sure that you have all the facts, because that's our objective. You get all the facts. You do your research. Of course, if you need more information, we'll help you. But we don't want to convince anybody. We want to make sure that the people that do it are convinced, and they want to do it because they're fully on board and they feel that SBI is the right place for them. Thank you for that, Isaac. Abdul, thanks for the presentation. For someone who is looking at becoming a football agent, is this course right for them? Well, Abdul, we actually have a course that is specifically for agents at SBI. So I would encourage you to check that one out first. It's less expensive. It's more oriented towards becoming an agent. And this is hot off the press. We haven't announced it yet, but you're going to see it on our website very soon. We're also going to launch a new course, which is going to strictly prepare people that want to do the agent exam, the FIFA agent exam in September. So if you want to be an agent, I would start with that one. This course is good for anybody, because if you're an agent, you're going to need to know about contracts. You're going to need to know about legal components. You're going to need to know about marketing. If you have a player, then you need to, commercialize their name and their brand. So it helps, obviously. But if you want to be an agent, I would say start by understanding the role of the agent first, and then looking at this master's. So you see, we're very much transparent with everybody here. We want to make sure that we give you the right program, whether it's with us, with anybody else, as long as it's the right fit for you. And of course, if you select SBI, evidently, we want you to come to us, because we know that we have a very solid program and a very solid institution. Right, Amadou Kaba, I hope I'm saying your name right. Thank you for all the presentation. The presentation was crystal clear, and I got the answer to some of my concerns. Excellent. That's what I wanted, Amadou. Thank you for being here tonight. Would you recommend this program to an executive who has an executive sport management diploma? Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me tell you this, and I don't mean to sound arrogant in any way. Please, I'm very humble, and I don't want to sound arrogant in any way whatsoever. But we've had people that have done programs, FIFA Masters, some of our other competitors and have paid, like I said, upwards of 25, 30,000 euros, and have actually decided to do our program on top of what they have already done. And many of them have said, I prefer the SBI way. I prefer the SBI methodology and the way that you guys, engaged with the group. So again, please don't make me, if I'm sounding boastful or arrogant, that's not what I'm intending. It's just to say the truth that people that have done other executive management diplomas have done this course, and it's opened their eyes. It really has, because the way we structure it is very much focused on a hands-on approach. And that's why I say, if people want an academic style of learning, textbook, this is not for you. This is not for you. And we don't want people that want that, because then they're disappointed and it doesn't meet their expectations. But on the flip side, if you want to learn what's happening today in the industry and what are the trends, I mean, football's changing. There's talk about a Super League. There's tournaments such as the Nations League, the UEFA Conference League, that didn't exist a couple of years ago. There's sponsors that are in crypto. I mean, if you think about this, 2-3 years ago, I mean, you don't have to go even, 5 or 10 years back. 1, 2, 3 years ago, none of this was there. So football is changing, it's evolving. You need to stay up to date. You need to keep abreast. If you want to have an opportunity in the football industry, you need to be taught by people that are working in the football industry if you want to have that opportunity. So that's why we believe very firmly, and again, the results validate what we see day in, day out. Right. I don't know if there's any other questions. I know I've gone over time, and we're just in about an hour here that we've concluded this session. So Andrew says, thanks a lot. Again, Andrew, you don't have to thank me or us. It's me that has to thank you. You spent an hour here with us out of your valuable time. So it's us that we have to thank you. Hopefully you now have all the facts. If you do join, and this goes for anybody out there listening now or for the replay when it goes out, if you do join SBI, one thing that we can guarantee you is we're going to treat you as an individual. We're going to treat you as a person. We know everybody that does the course every year. We know where you're from. We know what your aspirations are. We know what you want to do. We know who you are. And you're not going to be a number. You're not going to be just another student that we want to bring in for a master's program. That's not us. That's not how we operate. You're going to be part of a family. You're going to be part. And if you look at some of the pictures, I mean, go to our Instagram, which is SBI Barcelona altogether. You're going to see people jumping. You're going to see people excited. You're going to see people hugging each other, because that's what we want to build. We don't just want to build a course where people come in, go out. We want to build relationships for you. We want to build friendships for you. And that's where the results happen. And not only that, that's where you really enjoy studying. I mean, everybody that does the course basically says, I couldn't wait for the next Thursday to come, because I was anxious to learn, and I was anxious to find out more about how I could learn and how I could upskill myself. So it's a completely different ball game as far as traditional education is concerned. We do have the recognition, as I said, with Florida Global University in Miami, because we do want to make sure we have that academic, standing, but we don't want to be textbook theory, that type of approach. There's a difference between education and learning. A lot of people do education. We not only do education, we do learning. You learn. You come out with all the skills that you need when you finish this master's program. Right. Jamil says, thank you for the elaborate presentation. Jamil, thank you for being here. Jamil, by the way, is doing our football marketing and sponsorship certificate, which started a couple of weeks ago. And I basically mentioned to the guys in that course, and I said, look, guys, I know you guys are already enrolled in this program, but in case you're thinking about something else for October, here's the link to this info session. And Jamil jumped on here. So thank you, Jamil, again, for being here, because, I know that you have a time commitments like everybody else. And the fact that you're here just basically shows that, that you dedicated time to listen to what we had to say, and me particularly. Right. With that, guys, I don't want to take much more of your time. Of course, if there's any other questions, feel free to type them in the chat, and I'll stay as long as I need to. But I don't see any more questions. Hopefully this made it clear for everybody. If you are considering, education, if you want to move into the sector that you want to work in, and of course, in this case, being football, get in touch with us. I'll leave you with this. And I'm sure this is the case for many of you, because I was in that position myself, and many of the people that have enrolled in the program have shared this with me. You're probably in a situation where you feel, I could be doing a role in this industry. I know I have what it takes. I just don't know. I haven't had the chance. I haven't had the opportunities. I don't have the network. I haven't been able to be placed in an internship. That's what you're missing. But I can understand that, because I was there myself many years ago when I was trying to break into the industry, and I applied for different roles and jobs, and eventually my path took me to a football journalism, pathway. And of course, now I'm here at SBI. But I was in that position where I said, I know I could add value in this industry. I have what it takes. I just haven't had the opportunity, and I don't know where to go. Well, if that's you, this program is going to give you all the keys. It's going to give you the solutions, because there's many people in that situation. And I felt it myself. I felt that frustration where I sent CVs and I knew that I had the talent and I knew that I had what it took and the drive and the motivation, but I just didn't have the right approach. I didn't have the right guidance. I was sending without having the proper experience. So with this type of program, not only are you getting the knowledge, the network, you're going to gain experience through internships, through commissioned projects. And that's going to take you a very long way. Right, Joost is here. If you have already been admitted to the master's degree in football business management for SBI, what are the next stepping stones? Joost, you know what we should do? Let's set up a call. Now that you're here, Joost, by the way, applied, he got accepted, and he's going to be with us in October. And we're super excited because he has such a great profile that when we saw him, we said, Joost is the right person that we want to bring on. So Joost, I'm super happy and excited to have you here. I hadn't seen you in the participant list, but get in touch. I'm going to leave my email here in the chat. So one sec. Sorry. It's diego.valdez@sbibarcelona.com. Joost, feel free to jot that down. Shoot me a message and, let me know. I'm Joost. I'll know who you are because I know I already have seen your background and we've carefully evaluated your candidature. But send me a message, and whether you want to jump on a call, whether you want me to, give you some tips and advice from now till October of what you could do. There's a lot that I can recommend from now till October. There's quite a bit that I can recommend that you can get, going. So shoot me a message, drop me an email, and we'll set up a time to speak, and we'll have a chat. It'll be nice to connect. So look forward to receiving that message from you, Joost. Perfect. Good. Well, guys, that's it for me. I don't want to take much more of your time. I have been here for an hour and 15 minutes, and we've gone plenty over time, but hopefully with today's presentation, you get a very good understanding of what we do and what we offer at SBI. And if you feel that it's the right program for you, apply. We'd be happy to see your candidature come through. Like I said, it's no risk. If you apply and you're not accepted, we're going to give you feedback as to why it hasn't been accepted. And if it is accepted, you're going to be joining the SBI family, and opportunities that are going to come your way that, neither you or I can anticipate now, but I can guarantee you, we see it every year. They're going to be unlocked, and you're going to have much more clarity, much more experience, a wider network to get to where you want to be in an accelerated manner. So thank you, everybody. Have an absolutely wonderful morning, evening, afternoon, or middle of the night, wherever you're from. It's been an absolute pleasure being here with all of you tonight. And for those of you that have stuck around listening to me until the end, I really appreciate it and look forward to hearing from everybody very soon. So all the best, everybody. Have a great evening and we'll hopefully connect very soon. Take care. Bye for now.